Hello. So I'm going to go over some of these problems with you here. Let me get some colors up here so we can get drawing. So with these pH problems, you're going to have kind of a couple of basic formats that you can work with. So we know that pH is equal to the negative log. Oh my God. Of your hydrogen concentration. And then pOH is also the same, but it's the pOH is equal to the negative log of the hydroxide concentration. So you'd have pOH equals negative log of the hydroxide concentration. Then on the other hand, you can figure out these concentrations by saying that the hydrogen concentration is 10 to the power of the negative pH, and hydroxide is the same except you're using hydroxide or the pOH. So 10 to the negative pOH. Okay, so what we've got here, this top one we've got pH equals negative log times the hydrogen concentration. The concentration is going to be the molarity. So if you're looking at this right here, this would be the hydrogen concentration for this molecule. You might also see it written as hydronium, like H3O, because a lot of times this free hydrogen ion will bond with the already there water molecule. So sometimes you'll get like hydronium as one of your products, but if you see H3O plus, it means the same thing as H plus. So you're finding the hydrogen concentration based off of the pH, or you can find the pH based off the hydrogen concentration. So the pOH is only working with OH. So if you need to find the pOH of something, you first have to have the hydrogen concentration, or you can subtract it from 14. You can subtract the pH from 14 to get the pOH. Then down here you have this other relationship. If you're trying to find just the hydrogen concentration, it's going to be 10 to the power of the negative pH. And then the hydroxide concentration is 10 to the negative power of the pOH. So they're very similar, right? Like these two are the same formula. The only thing you're changing is that you're using hydrogen versus hydroxide. And then same thing down here. So when you're trying to find these concentrations, only thing you're changing is using pH versus pOH. And that conversion is just going to be 14 minus either one of them. So if I have 14 minus pH, it's going to be your pOH. Okay, and then the other way around is also true. So 14 minus your pOH equals your pH. Keep wanting to write that as a lowercase, sorry. So that's your conversion between all of these things. So if you start out with like this one, we're starting out with the hydrogen concentration. We can easily find the pH using that. So if I change my color here, so we can use this one first to find pH. Then once we have the pH, we need to find pOH. All you have to do is subtract that number from 14. Okay, so if I have, let's see, my pH here, I'm just going to clear all this off. So if I have pH, we're going to be using on the negative log to find that. So pH is going to be equal to the negative log of the hydrogen concentration, which is 0.01 moles. Okay, so that you just put it into your calculator. It's just the negative symbol and then log, and then you put in that concentration. Concentration and molarity mean the same thing. So here, this tells me that my pH is going to be 2. Okay, so I have a pH of 2. Now I need to find the pOH. So the pOH is just going to be whatever the difference is between the pH and 14. So it's just literally 14 minus 2. So we know that it's going to be 12. All right? So now that we know the pOH and we have the pH, this question is not asking for it, but some of them on the other assignment that you guys were assigned does ask for it. So we're going to find the hydroxide concentration. So if I'm just going to move over here and say, okay, I want to find the hydroxide concentration, which is my OH negative. I'm going to find that by putting this in my calculator. 10 to the power of negative pOH. So my pOH is 12, so I'm going to put that in as 10 to the negative 12th. So 10 to the negative 12th. And that's just going to give you, in this case, 1.0 times 10 to the negative 12th. Okay, and that would be OH. That would be the concentration of OH. So you can find all of these values depending on what you're given. You just have to get there kind of on a different pathway depending on what you have. So let me clear this off. I'll do another example. Oops, not that. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, let me get my pen, my mouse. Get a hold of this again. Okay, so down here we have, let me see. Oh, wow, look at that, I can make fireworks. That is so funny. Learn something new every day. All right, so let me find my pen. Where in the heck did it go? Oh, this is a mess. Okay, that's what it was. I can save my mouse, I guess, and make it into a, can make it into fireworks every time I click. Okay, so anyway, sorry about that. So here we're starting with the hydroxide concentration, and you have this molarity, okay? So we know from last unit that molarity is just the concentration of whatever solution you're looking at. One thing to keep in mind is that our acids always, wow, this pen is just really doing me dirty today. Acids always start with hydrogen, okay? So then your bases are going to start with OH, or they're going to end with OH, I should say. So your acids, if you're trying to identify this in a question, and it just says like HCl, it says the concentration, the molarity of this HCl is 0.0002. You have to differentiate on whether that's an acid or a base, because it's going to give you the pH versus the pOH, and that is obviously different information. So for this, we have OH negative. This could also just say like sodium hydroxide, and it means the same thing. So you could just say, okay, sodium hydroxide, this sodium hydroxide has a molarity of 0.0002. That's its concentration. So I need to find the pH and the pOH. So when you have the hydroxide concentration, the only thing you can do is find the pOH. So first we're going to find the pOH using that concentration. So we're going to put that into your negative log. So negative log of this hydroxide concentration, so 0.00020. Okay, and then we're just going to put that in our calculator. So it's going to be negative log 0.00020, and that's going to give us 3.7. I rounded it a little bit. Okay, this is the pOH, and even though the formula is exactly the same to find pH, the difference is that you're starting with a base. So this molarity is only going to give you the percent of hydroxide, not the percent of hydrogen. So you have to always, if you're given a base concentration, only thing you can do with that is find the pOH. So if after that you still need the pH, you are going to have to subtract this from 14. So you would have your 14 minus the 3.7. Okay. And that would give you 10.3 as your pH. Okay. So this is all this question is asking for, but if then you needed the hydrogen concentration, now that you have pH, you can do that. So now that we have pH, we could do the hydrogen concentration. Hydrogen concentration is just going to be 10 to the power of negative pH. So our pH that we just calculated was 10.3, okay? So the hydrogen concentration is going to be negative 10.3. It's going to be 5.0 times 10 to the negative 11th. All right, so what we have basically is that we have pH, pOH, the hydroxide concentration, and the hydrogen concentration. And the conversion between those two is going to be 14 minus each of them. So depending on what you're starting with, you're going to have to kind of figure out your own pathway. But if you have, let's see, let's go ahead and move down. So I'll just write this on here. Let me get a little bit of blank paper. Okay. So if you have, let's say we start with pH. All you know is the pH. Okay. The first thing you're going to want to do is find the the hydrogen concentration. So if you're given pH, you can right away find the hydrogen concentration, or you could go ahead and find the pOH. Okay, because if you have the pH, all you have to do for the hydrogen concentration is plug that into the negative, let me erase that. Well, I guess I can just scribble this out. All right, let me get my pen back here. So if you have the pH, let's say my pH is 2, right? So what I'm trying to find is the hydrogen concentration. So if I have this pH, all you have to do is put it into this one. So 10 to the power of the negative pH. Now, separately, I could also just find the pOH using the pH. So if that's all I needed, you're just subtracting that from 14. So I can very easily say that my pOH is 12. Now, if you're given the pH and you don't have these two, but you need the hydroxide concentration, you're first going to have to find the pOH and then the hydroxide concentration, okay? Because you have to have the hydroxide, I keep doing that, the hydroxide concentration before you can plug it into your 10 to the power of the hydroxide. Okay, so that's one example, just starting with pH. So if I change this, let's say I'm going to start with a hydroxide concentration. Let's say it is 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. Okay, so let's just say this is what was given to you. Okay, it says that your hydroxide concentration is 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. This would alternatively be the same as saying I have a solution of this base and it has a molarity of 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. It's the same difference. So the concentration of hydroxide is just telling you the molarity of that base. So what I can do with this right away is find the pOH. And that's about all I can do. So before you could find the pH, you would have to find the pOH. Before you could find the hydrogen concentration, you would have to find the pOH and then get your pH. So from here, first thing I would do for that next step is I would find your pOH. Okay, so I would put this in. So I've got my pOH is equal to the negative log of this concentration. So we have 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. Okay. Oops. Nice. Got brackets on one side, parentheses on the other. All right. So you're going to put in negative log of 2.0 times 10 to the negative 5th. And that's going to tell me that my pOH is 4.7. Okay. Now that I have pOH, then I can go back in and figure out my hydroxide concentration Well, actually, I have that already. I could then find out my pH. So if I needed to find pH from pOH, you're subtracting that from 14. So if I need pH for this now, you're going to have 14 minus 4.7 to give you 9.3. Okay, everything kind of lives and breathes around pH. That's pretty much the most important of these calculations. So from your pH number, you could look at this and say, okay, this is above 7, so it must be a base. Okay, so you can very easily identify that. Now, if it then needs you still to find the hydroxide concentration, or sorry, the hydrogen concentration, now you can go back in with that 10 to the negative power and figure that out. So I could have 10 to the power of negative 9.3. And that would give me 5.0 times 10 to the negative 10th as my hydrogen concentration. So this is all you're doing for the assignment from 2 classes ago, like the pOH and pH calculations, and also for the follow-up questions for the escape room. I apologize. It's like I've had a day today, so my brain is not quite working. But this is all you need. So if you have, let me turn this part off. Just take you on a journey here and find the slides. Okay, make sure I'm still recording on the slide. Oh, well, good deal. I can't just switch it over, I guess. All right, well, I can't just flip it over to the slides, but those formulas that I just gave you are on your slides, and they are on, let me find the slide number. Okay, so if you go to slide 50, like 50, that has all of your formulas for pH. And then the next 2 slides after that are also examples on how to calculate pH. So hopefully this clears some things up for pH and pOH. And if not, just let me know. We can talk about it. But on the follow-up questions, if you're getting those wrong over and over, it's probably a format error. It's really particular about like how you put it in. So if you put in like 1 times 10 to the negative 6, it's not even going to let you put that in because of this x. So instead of an x, you need to use an asterisk. That is typed into the question. So the format for how you need to type it is right there with the question on every single one. So you also would need it to be like 1.0 times 10 to the negative 6th or whatever it happens to be. So you have to put in like your little caret guy right there. So just make sure the format's correct on that. I did also put a lot of feedback in there. So if you are getting them wrong, check out the feedback and make sure you're following these steps to finding things. So if you're given the hydroxide concentration, it's going to take 2 steps to find the pH. You can't just get the pH straight from the hydroxide, and then vice versa. You can't just get straight to the pOH from the hydrogen concentration. So all of that kind of just takes some working through. So hopefully this has been helpful. And then please let me know if you need any more help on this, and I will make a different video, or we can come in or whatever. So let me know. Have a good night.